Hello, singing friends. Welcome back to my channel. Mickey here, your friendly neighborhood vocal coach. Today is a viewer request reaction to a video comparing Mariah Carey and Ofra Haza. So I've talked about Ofra a lot on my channel before. She is a legendary Middle Eastern singer who died very young and tragically. And of course, we all know Mariah Carey is one of the most famous divas of all time. So we're going to be examining their a cappella vocals both in studio and live. And I will be stopping the video after each clip to give a little bit of my opinion. So here we go. These are the studio a cappella songs.
Somehow I know that there's a place up above with no more than struggling, free of all atrocities and suffering, because I feel the unconditional love from one who cares enough for me to erase all my burdens and let me be free to fly like a bird, take to the sky. I need you now, Lord, carry me high. Don't let the world break me tonight. I need the strength of you by my side. Sometimes this life can be so cold. I pray you'll come and carry me home.
All right, so that first clip I think is very, very impressive for a couple of reasons. Mariah Carey, the timbre of her voice is just so pleasing, and she's singing in that clip with a very breathy voice, so that you can hear that aspiration or that hiss of air behind her tone. I personally find this type of singing to be the most difficult, and yet you can hear that her pitch is absolutely perfect. That last note when she sustains, the tone is so steady. If you were to have a meter on that to check the pitch, it would have been perfectly on. And then she ended it with that perfectly rhythmic vibrato. So these are all marks of an incredible singer. A couple of times she flipped into a more connected head voice, but for the most part, she really stayed in that delicate, breathy voice, which is so difficult to do. Now we're going to hear Ofra.
Yemeni. Dalte maharam lonin alu el hay maremam ale karubim ulam baru
That also was very, very impressive, but a different style that was much more connected, right? That or whatever the melody is, I don't know it offhand, but it was much more of a connected tone rather than that breathiness where your chords are just coming together very lightly. There she was really adducting or zipping up her vocal cords to get that nice strong tone. And she always has that incredible vocal control with her melismas and ornaments and that great vibrato as well. One thing that I would like to know about these vocals is if these are raw or if it's just isolated vocals from the studio albums after they've been pitch corrected and everything else, because they do sound exactly spot on. I wonder if there's a little bit of pitch correction, but regardless, they're both obviously masterful singers, and I'm sure that any correction that happened in production was very, very minimal. Here we go, back to Mariah.
It's hard to explain. Inherently, it's just always been strange. Neither here nor there, and always somewhat out of place everywhere. Ambiguous. Without a your touch somewhere halfway.
Wow, so a lot of really, really beautiful ornaments in there. And again, that tone, that timbre of her voice is so pleasing. Everybody's instrument is different. We have our physical limitations in our bodies, and Mariah Carey was just blessed with this voice that is like honey. Can you imagine being one of her kids and having this woman sing you lullabies? That would be like crazy. But there's just some singers that their voices are just so beautiful. And I think this is actually a good comparison because there is something that's really lovely about both of their voices. But again, that really light, breathy tone, right? And I also love when she goes up high, when she kind of flips up into the higher notes, because it really takes a lot of breath support to get up there and use that kind of breathy tone. So, you know, I won't get into like too much technicality right now, but when you go up high, to sustain those high notes, you need to blow more air. And if you blow more air, it's harder to adduct your vocal cords and bring them together and get a tone. So you can really, your voice can kind of falter and peter out the higher up you get if you're trying to use that breathy tone. And it takes a lot of core support to get up there and have that beautiful supported breathy tone. And you can hear that she just has such a lovely range and she's able to sustain those notes and sing so beautifully, even very, very high up.
Surmanoti wa hamadat helagi surmanoti
So very, very pretty, again, very connected. This almost reminds me of like a call to prayer, right? There's just something that's so haunting about the melodies and the scales that she uses. She's using that harmonic minor scale, which is used in a lot of traditional Middle Eastern music, excuse me. So it just sounds very different from, you know, pop music, which is usually in a major key. There's just something that has that haunting quality is really moving in her music.
Never had I imagined living without your smile, feeling, knowing you hear me, it keeps me alive.
That's an interesting clip because it really shows Mariah's ability to flip between her different gears of her voice, right? So she was using chest and then flipping into her breathy head voice. And she does it so quickly and so effortlessly, flipping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's not so easy to do because the voice is kind of lazy. And once we get into one gear, it generally wants to stay there and not flip into another gear. And the fact that she can go between her various registrations in her voice so easily without even showing any of that effort or really thinking about it is pretty incredible.
Avir harim tzalul kayaim vereach oranim nisa beruach arba'im im kol
So in that one, you really hear Ofra's lovely vibrato. She really has one of the most beautiful vibratos I've ever heard in a singer. And also just the variation in dynamics within phrases. One thing that I really love about her is she won't just create musical dynamics over the span of a phrase. Within a note, she'll swell and have that, you know, that dynamic shift where she goes from pianissimo to fortissimo and back again. And that really adds a lot of emotion into her singing.
There's a hero. If you look inside your heart, you don't have to be afraid of what you are. There's an answer if you reach into your soul, and the sorrow that you know will melt away. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on.
I'm just laughing because this is one of my favorite songs of all time. And as a singer, if you've ever tried to sing a Mariah Carey song, she makes it sound so effortlessly, but there's nothing more demoralizing than trying to sing a Mariah Carey song because it's so difficult. But one thing that I love about this particular vocal is that you do hear that vocal fry in the beginning of phrases, right? There's a hero if you search inside yourself. So she has that leads into phrases, which I think is really, really nice. In moderation. If you use too much vocal fry, it can be very annoying.
כל הנשמה שנתת בי
So I really like the repeated figures in her singing. It really adds to that droning quality, and it almost like casts a spell on you, right? When she has that like da 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 da, it's like a repeating, almost like whirling dervish, this like repeating thing that can like put you into almost a trance, you know? So I think that that's really, really pretty and cool.
Would I believe that you and me would fall?
One of the things that I love about Mariah also is that she often does these like humming things or like little musical gestures that are almost like inside of her mouth or in her throat. Like, it's very casual almost, right? And it really adds to the impression that she's singing so effortlessly. And it also is something that's like very intimate, right? You often will sing quietly and in that breathy way if you're like singing into somebody's ear, or if it's like a love song or like a lullaby or something. So it really creates this sense of intimacy, and like she's singing just to you, and you really want to like lean in and listen to what she's saying carefully. She almost doesn't sound like a voice in some of these recordings, you know? There's something that's like very instrumental about the way that she sings. It's just like so otherworldly. It's very cool. It sounds like an instrument.
If you're lonely and need a friend, and troubles seem like they never end, just remember to keep the faith, and love will be there to light the way. Yeah. I will be here. You feel I'm by your side, so don't Don't you ever be lonely. Love will make it alright. When the shadows are closing in and your spirit diminishing, just remember you're not alone, and love will be there, yeah, to guide you home. Never, no, 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 no. Even if you're miles away.
Wow. So that's the other side of Mariah, right? She doesn't just sing with that breathy voice, she really can belt. And there were so many techniques in that little clip. You really heard her give some rasp on that, right? Then she goes into that high note. And she was really, really flooring it and hitting some really, really high notes there with her chest belt. So that was incredible. And you also kind of hear that like emotional, like she almost like sob cries into some of the beginnings of those notes. I'm not going to attempt to do it because it's very, very advanced and her voice is so incredible. But you can really hear that power, that chest, where she's really in that chest voice gear and belting that out. And it's so different from that breathy voice that we heard earlier. Gorgeous. I was just thinking that if you were to like hook up Ofra's voice to measure her vibrato and like the rate of oscillation, I'm sure it would be like perfectly even. She has the most incredible vibrato.
Yes. When you get caught in the rain with nowhere to run, when you're distraught and in pain without anyone, when you keep crying out to be saved, but nobody comes, and you feel so far away that you just can't find your way home. You can get there alone, it's okay. What you say is, I can make it through the rain, I can stand up one once again on my own, and I know that I'm strong enough to mend. And every time I feel afraid, I hold tighter to my fate, and I live one more day, and I make it through the rain.
I mean, her pitch is just so impeccable, and her range, she's known for having this like incredible range, but it's so impressive that her tone and her timbre of her voice is so pleasing to the ear throughout her entire range. So you hear her go really, really low in the beginning of this clip, and we heard her go really, really high previously, and every note that she hits is just so round and resonant and rich and gorgeous. It's like, it's kind of mind-blowing actually hearing these vocals.
Pescaria mis dolores con palabricas d'amor. Pescaria mis dolores con palabricas d'amor. Dame la mano, paloma, para subir a tu nido. Maldicha que duerme sola, vengo a dormir contigo. Maldicha que duerme sola, vengo a dormir contigo.
Some very, very beautiful low notes from Ofra there. I wouldn't want to have to choose between these two vocalists. It's like, do you like this really, really delicious chocolate cake or this really, really delicious cheesecake? I'm like, I want both of them. Don't make me choose. All right, so those were the studio acapellas. Now we're going to hear some live isolated vocals.
But in my heart I know this ain't gonna be our last kiss. It's too deep, we just can't quit. What you think? Hold on, am I saying the right words? In my heart I know this ain't gonna be our last kiss. It's too big, we just can't quit. What you think this is? Our love will always exist. Oh, listen to me, boy, you know we trip. So stop fronting what we gotta steal. Something, something. Oh, this feeling is too good to miss. And ain't no kiss gonna never be our last kiss.
So that was nice, but it's funny without all of the like studio stuff. And I think this is a more recent video. I have no idea when this is from, but judging from her looks, it looks like a more recent video. Her voice is less pleasing, right? It had more of a push to it, a little bit more of a strain. Still, obviously, amazing voice. I mean, I would kill to have her voice even in that video, obviously, but there is a difference between the studio version and her singing kind of live and in a more recent time. And she actually, you know, we know that she's had vocal damage. She's had some pretty surprising live performances where she stopped singing in the middle, and you know, her voice gave out, and she clearly was going through something vocally, and so her voice has definitely changed from early on in her career, but still obviously incredible and beautiful.
את חכי לי, חכי, עוד אחזור מאבק ודרכים, עוד אחזור מעשן ומחול, הוא היה לי ידיד בימים רחוקים וטרופים בימי מלחמה ונדודים הוא היה לי אורות רחוקים את חכי לי חכי עוד אחזור.
So that was beautiful and sounded very much like her studio vocals. It's a little bit harder to judge because she obviously didn't live that long, so who knows how her voice would have held up over time, but that was absolutely a beautiful example of her singing live.
I was a wayward child with the weight of the world that I held deep inside. Life was a winding road and I learned many things little one shouldn't know, but I closed.
So it's kind of hard to tell what's going on there. I think probably because the instruments were removed after the fact. There's some artifacts. So it made it a little bit hard to hear her voice, but it sounded very good. She sounded like she was singing well.
Ayuma bahar amor alila khuvasari weno shir beshir mizmor banigun liosari.
Some very, very complicated melismas in there, some very complicated riffs. That sounds like from her early career, and that sounds like a more traditional Yemeni song. And so that vocal control of doing all of those riffs is really, really incredible.
Boy meets girl and looks in her eyes. Time stands still and two hearts catch fire. Up they go, roller coaster ride. Up and down and around, twisting all out their minds. Then his friends said it's too soon to settle down. And then her friends said he's a player, slow it down. They couldn't be who they was, cause it just seemed like love wasn't on their side. But this isn't just another love story. Together we'll make history. I know that I know, there'll be no end to our love story. And this ain't gonna end up like that Casablanca movie. No, this ain't no fairy tale or fiction. This is truly us for all eternity. There'll be no end to our love story, baby. There's no end to our love story. No, 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 never. No, 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 never gone. Never gone. Be an end to our love story. Love story. Love story. Love story. Hey, baby. Ooh. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
So that was a really great example of how she is able to flip between her registrations. You could hear a little bit of the effort here. It sounded like her voice was a little bit tired, but there was a really, really nice show of her singing in her chest voice and then flipping into her breathy head voice and back down again. Very, very pretty.
סימני קח אותם על ליבך סימני קח אותם על זרועך כי עזק המוות כי עזק המוות ייתן איש את כל הון ביתו
Wow, if that was a live performance, that was incredible. And I think that's a really, really good note to end on because that really shows all of her strengths. There was the beautiful longing and dynamic variation and her gorgeous ornaments and melismas on that harmonic minor scale and her beautiful, perfect vibrato, all of the most lovely things about her voice. So, you know, like I said before, I wouldn't want to have to choose between these singers. They have such incredible instruments. Their voices are just so gorgeous in every way to listen to. It's just a pleasure. So I have so much respect for both of these singers, and it was really interesting to hear their isolated vocals, even more impressive than when all the instrumentation is in there. So thank you to Laura Sassani for recommending these two videos and for making these two videos. And I hope you enjoyed my reaction, and I will see you here next week for another singing video. Until then, happy singing.